Okay. Welcome to our Full Fit Minds session. It's 4 people from different backgrounds talking about their passion for physical and mental health. And today is episode 3, which is physical health. And who wants to go first?
Well, I'm going to pose the questions. So here they are on the screen. Can we all see those?
Yeah.
So what does physical health mean to you? We'll start at the top as I see you on my screen. Catherine Bell.
Oh, okay. Wow. This is a big question. Okay, I guess physical health to me means an all-round holistic thing. So we're looking at both our physical health in terms of how we eat and move and what we do. It also for me includes things like sickness, keeping on top of sickness through looking after ourselves, and also mental health, because that's also closely connected to physical health. So for me, physical health is like an all-round thing, and if we fail to look after one part of our health, the chances are it will have a knock-on effect on another part of our health. So, you know, for example, my journey in fitness and kind of getting fitter was a very slow journey. I used to smoke, and I smoked for 30 odd years. So stopping was like a habit that I found really hard to break. But on my journey of starting to get fitter, I carried on smoking, but then realised that I'd come to a point where if I didn't stop smoking, I didn't have the right lung capacity or whatever else to continue getting stronger. So things went out of the window. So smoking went out of the window. I don't drink. And so physical health for me is like a journey. And along the way, you have to let things go in order for everything to start gelling together a little bit more tightly. Okay,
Awesome.
I'll do.
Jane, you're up in the hot seat.
I knew that because I'm under Kath.
Yeah, well done.
You're on my screen, you're on the top, and I'm recording, so.
Right, physical health, what does it mean to me? The thing that keeps me going, I suppose. God, this is a tough one. I'm not normally stuck for words either.
That's true.
It's keeping me well. Being physically well keeps my mental health at check. I think if I didn't have my physical health on check and I couldn't get out and about and do things and I wasn't active, then I think it would have an effect on my mental health, which for me has never been something I've suffered with. But I think if I was sort of stuck in that rut where I didn't have that, then it probably would start to have an effect somewhere else with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Colin?
For me, physical health is the basis for good mental health. It's good for relieving stress, and gives me a much better focus, and life expectancy is quite important as well. And it makes me feel happy due to the release of endorphins and different types of hormones. So yeah, for me, it's a big thing.
Awesome. Yeah, so obviously I'm up next. What does physical health mean to me? Physical health means to me pretty much a wide spectrum of things, but the one thing that comes to mind when I think of physical health is basically just moving and being very primal with that, whether that's walking, running, lifting weights, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be structured. Physical health means to me motion and moving, and what that brings. And I think the reason why Jane found it very hard to differentiate or answer the question is because obviously it does underpin your emotional state and psychological aspects, as well as psychological aspects underpinning your physical health. So, but for me, physical health is about moving and having a degree of physicality to our day, getting out of our chairs, getting out of our seats and moving. and putting our body under physical stress at a level that you can cope with. So again, that's differentiated on people's abilities. So physical health to me means moving, keeping it primal, and just getting out there and moving. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Motion is lotion.
Yeah, motion is lotion. Okay, awesome answers. So next up we have, let me give it a click. What impact does having poor physical health have on society? Kath, back up to you.
Okay, so the thing that springs to mind immediately for me is pharmaceutical drugs. And I think that the cost of what we plow into both, the NHS and pharmaceuticals industry is just ridiculous, because if people, and not that I'm, an expert at this in any way, shape or form, but I think if people placed more importance on natural health and physical well-being, then there would be less pressure to take drugs. So, for example, the amount of people who sit and say, I've got a terrible headache, and they just grab a paracetamol or whatever, instead of trying to think, well, maybe I'm a bit dehydrated, let's drink some water, or let's get some fresh air, or whatever. And I think this year in particular, due to COVID, there's been a massive increase of people sat at home, not going to work, and relying on other things than their own natural physical well-being to protect themselves. And I just think, we need to go back to nature a little bit. We're equipped with everything we need to be healthy. I'm not saying we don't need pharmaceutical industry, of course we do, but sometimes I think people are too fast to reach for medicines, when actually, if you look at how you look after your physical and mental well-being, there are other ways to tackle problems. So for me, on society, it's about the pharmaceutical stuff.
Awesome. Jane?
Right, I think it's putting sometimes an unnecessary strain on the NHS, like what Kath's just been saying. It's all too easy just to pop pills and potions, then just sort of stripping it back to basics. I mean, I take supplements. I've done it for a lot of years. Things like omega-3, I take turmeric, collagen for my creaky knees from all my years of fitness and stuff, all those bits and pieces, which means that I don't have to reach for sort of ibuprofens and other pills and potions. And like Kath said, we sat at home during lockdown. It would be, a lot of people, I myself, I ended up with a trapped nerve at the start of lockdown, just because I was working from home, my posture, which had a knock-on effect. And, for the much of it, I rested, I had some natural gels, I used Devil's Claw, things like that. Everything I tried to use, rather than actually go to things that I would necessarily need medication wise. And again, it's back to the movement. So sitting on our backsides, not doing anything, not getting around, has a huge effect. And also as we get older, sort of like bone density and bits and pieces like that. And obviously Nigel knows more than any of us that, weights and things like that can help women, especially as they get older, which again will alleviate some of the pressure off the NHS, because people are living longer now, and if they're able to look after themselves in a way through exercise and natural things, then we're still going to get longevity, but it means that we're not going to strain places that we don't necessarily need to impact.
Awesome answer.
Brilliant.
Colin, beat that.
I can't, because Jane and Kath has literally said everything I've written down. But if I can add to that, again, yeah,
So
it does
not everything then.
It does put pressure on the health service and also your family as well, because obviously if you can't go out to work, then you need somebody to support you at home. If you're really obese, then it means that, you know, everything in the home, if you are at home, has to be adapted for you as well. Maybe you can't get up the stairs, for example. So, you know, you have to have a bedroom downstairs, which impacts on the rest of the house and the rest of the family. Higher disease rate, higher death rates, lower life expectancy. And I guess there's a lower sense of the society as a whole. It affects society as a whole. There's a lower expectancy. You know, if you live in an area where there's high deprivation, high obesity levels, low life expectancy, high disease, death rates, then you naturally think, well, that's going to happen to me. You know, that's all I've got to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think that gives you kind of like a negative outlook on life. And that means that, you know, basically you've got no aspirations, or some people may have aspirations to get out of that city or town or wherever it may be. But generally it has an effect on the rest of society, as in, you know, this is what's set out for me. So I think that's the effect that it has on society, as well as the impact it has on drugs and taking headache tablets, ibuprofen for inflammation and so on. And I think the pharmaceutical industry don't help either, because they are literally, you know, every opportunity pushing these drugs. You look on TV and you see, you know, Gaviscon, you see ibuprofen, you see all these different types of medications that, you know, if you sit and think, you don't really need them. You just need a good diet, good exercise, fresh air, you know, just movement, just to get you know your resilience up as well. So yeah, I think society has been sort of brainwashed into taking a lot of these pharmaceutical drugs that don't really do anything. They just mask.
Quick fix.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, you've not left me with much. But yeah, what impact does having poor physical health have on society? Obviously, we've talked about the financial burden. We've talked about the burden in terms of, well, not burden, but the, you know, decreased life expectancy. So, you know, people not living as long, people dying earlier than they should because of ill health, but due to the fact that they've probably not been physically active enough. One of the biggest indicators of poor health, obviously, is fitness levels, and even though people might be overweight, if you're sedentary, that is going to bring a hell of a lot more issues than just being overweight. We can all be overweight, but if you're moving more and if you're actually physically active, then that's going to have less of a strain on the NHS, on society, and also it's going to impact your mental health and well-being. So again, that's going to take less of a strain. So one of my philosophies and one of my sort of passions is, instead of a doctor referring you to prescribed drugs even, or to a specialist in diabetes because you don't know how to eat properly and just give you medication, you've got high blood pressure, whatever it may be, then why not, in correlation with working with a GP practice, have a health practitioner that's on hand to give out advice and implement something that's longer lasting rather than short term, and ultimately more impactful than a short term, you know, fix. When really the drugs that you get prescribed are not really a short term fix. They're just the easier option. You know, a lot of people I work with are on tablets for most of their life, and until they start looking at their diet, and then until they start moving more. And that's as simple as it needs to be. But the simple answer is never the answer that's given. And if you look in the current climate as well, if we were to, do some statistical analysis on those people that have been either had COVID or been diagnosed with COVID at any stage and died, then I'm sure there's a correlation between their physical health and obviously death rates, which is, no surprise. And obviously those that are physically active, physically healthy, will have a less compromised immune system, and therefore have more resilience and more robustness to tackle diseases, not just COVID, but any diseases going forward. So that's it's massive. It's massive, and it just doesn't seem to have the weight that it deserves, because it is just an easy answer to move more, but people don't want easy answers. You know, it's not enough sometimes.
Brilliant answer, that.
Cheers, Kath. Okay. What factor do you feel is the biggest marker of physical health? So, not for example, but if you're not sure what that means, if you're watching this, so what factor or what thing do you feel is the biggest marker of physical health? So, if someone's got good or bad physical health, what's the biggest marker of that? Catherine, we'll go with the flow again.
No pressure being first. Oh gosh, you know what? I'm gonna do. I've got a card, and it's my trump
Own a
card.
friend.
I'm gonna pass this first question to Colin.
Okay.
We've taken all the good answers all the way through. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna come from possibly a slightly different angle. So, what factor do you feel is the biggest marker of physical health? So, just bringing it to current day, in society, we can see that the pandemic has hit the nation quite hard. So, people with underlying conditions and the vulnerable have suffered the most. This has highlighted the need for physical exercise and nutritional education. So, for me, it's education, but more importantly, it's knowing your body. So that is what I would say is the marker of the factor that I think is the biggest marker of physical health, is knowing your body, because you could train with somebody at the same level as you, but their training level may not be satisfactory for you. It may not be enough for you. So you need to go more reps, heavier weights, and so on. So I think if you know your body, you know what fuels your body, you know what exercises you can do to get the most out of your body. And also, you know, for linking physical and mental health, you know what is good for your mental health in terms of exercise and food as well. So, and also encompassing a routine that's sustainable for you. So, you know, not pushing yourself to the point where you have to have like a few days off to recover, but pushing yourself to the point where, you know, you feel good, you know that you've done a good routine, a hard routine, but also that you can sustain that over the coming days as well. So, yeah, basically it just comes back down to knowing your body. And that's kind of, yeah, I'd say that's the best marker for it, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Okay, so
Who's next then, Jane? Are we going to Cassidy?
I'll go. Right. Well, the biggest factor I feel, or biggest factors to physical health, time. A lot of people don't have time, and that's, you know, that's one big thing that stops them from doing it. But also enjoying it. Some people, you know, I see posts all the time that people are, or I see when people get to the end of, say, boot camp, whatever, and they're like, oh, God, glad that's over. And it's not like, I mean, we all say that, oh, that was a tough one and all that. But, you know, some people don't enjoy doing it, but they do it. So therefore, they probably aren't getting out of it what they should be. So therefore, it's more of a chore to them. But also making it part of a routine. If it's part of a routine, you just do it, and therefore you gain from it because it's part of your everyday structure, I suppose. So therefore, your health's improving all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, shall I go, or do you want to go, Nigel?
Yeah, go on then, Kath, you can go.
So when I read this question, my first instinct was like a marker of physical health. So I would have immediately said being muscly or being slim. They would be the markers, would be the sorry, that they would be the factors that are a marker of whether you are physically healthy. Is
Yep.
your size or your muscular physique or whatever. But
Yeah.
actually, the deeper that I thought about that question, I thought, no, you know, that's what it springs to mind for me immediately. But then if I go a little bit deeper, it's more about, for me, it's a marker a little bit of what Colin said about knowing yourself. What choices do you make to feel physically healthy? So if you choose to get up in the morning and exercise, if you choose to get a drink of water instead of a pharmaceutical drug, if you go to the supermarket and choose to fill your trolley with fruit and veg and salad rather than snack foods and stuff. So for me, the marker for me for good physical health is what you choose to do to get whatever your results are. So if you want big muscles, you choose to work on big muscles. If you want to be slim, you work on being slim. For me, it's about being comfortable and feeling healthy and feeling strong. So I guess I can't, for me, pin it down to one factor. And if I look around me in society, I don't see one factor. I think there are different markers that I read all around me, and that also links for me, again, working in mental health. And also I work in physical health as well with some clients. It means many, many things, but how you choose to deal with your physical well-being is a very personal thing. And I think, so physical health for me is personal to everybody in different ways.
Yeah.
So I suppose in a way, Kath, that's back to your own mental health. You're the one that governs it and drives that. Yeah.
So in terms of a science point of view, a marker of physical health, and the one that underlines most, is your sort of cardiovascular level. So that is a massive marker. So the fitter you are cardiovascular, that's going to give you a better predisposition to have an overall physical health. So, you know, you could argue that someone, like I said earlier, someone can be overweight but still be physically fit because they have greater cardiovascular capacity. And I saw that at university. That was in many literature and books that I read, was the fact that cardiovascular capacity in terms of VO2 max, which is your cardiovascular endurance, was the predetermined marker of physical health. But what factors do I feel is the biggest marker of that? It's a bit what Kath said. It's how you perceive what your physical health to be and the barriers that affect your accessibility to gain and improve your physical health. So ultimately, a factor that's going to affect those markers is your perceived barriers to improving your physicality and things that you might put in place, whether that's time, excuses, money. They're the markers, they're the factors that are going to affect that overall marker of improving your physical health and how you perceive that. You don't have to do something you don't love. You've got to do something that's going to benefit your physical health. If you find working with others is going to help you on your own, or if you're doing something that's not structured, like what we do in the gym, or, you know, football, and it's something that's more sort of recreational, then feel free. But again, it just boils down to do what you enjoy and keep it simple. And in return, you will ward off. You know, you'll not be going into a GP room as frequently as you would have done normally. Simple. And that's what it boils down to. Stay out of the GP's office, just start moving more. Simple.
It's true. It's true. And thinking a little bit more primally, like you've said the word primal a few times today, Nigel. And for me, that's really important, because we've come so far as a society and as, you know, humans, that we forget sometimes to be connected with what we're supposed to do. What are we designed to do, our bodies and minds? And I think we do need to sometimes get a little bit more back in touch with that.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome, cracking answers.
Thank you. Great questions, Nigel. Really tested us today.
That last one might have confused a few people, but I think we've ironed it out.
I think that was good, because it kind of made us all think from different perspectives and
outside the box, weren't we, a little bit today?
So have we got, before we end today, have we got anybody who particularly, it is Colin, it is your turn to do a PowerPoint, but I don't mind doing it. Have we got a topic for next time?
I'll let you guys.
How about confidence?
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I thought of confidence and I also thought of motivation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he didn't have the confidence to say.
So let's go.
Motivated enough.
So let's go for confidence next time, then maybe so I'll do confidence next time, then Colin, you've got 2 weeks to prepare motivation for the one after.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Look
See
forward
you
to it.
soon,
Great.
guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.